What is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York calling from the Alto again, and this time we are here with Zahna. It is so great to be able to talk with you. Thanks for being on the show today.
Thank you so much, Alex. It's great to be here.
Yeah, it's an honor to have you here. Pile of Pills is the latest single that we got, and it is an absolutely kick-ass, brutal, relentless single that really, I think it's just one taste of all the things you are capable of, really, because it just shows your most aggressive side. But then when you listen to an album such as Stronger Than Death, you tackle so many different elements in it. So it's fair to say Pile of Pills is just one little preview of what the follow-up to Stronger Than Death is going to be, right?
Yeah, 100%. So I went ahead and did Stronger Than Death. I recorded that back in 2020 and with Kellen McGregor of Memphis Mayfire produced it. And he had me do a lot of the melodic. He really loved my voice. We didn't really get to tap into screaming that much. And 2021, a year later, I was going through all this stuff in my life. And I was like, you know what? I miss metalcore. I want to rip it out and just started displaying screams again. That song didn't come out till just a month ago. And here we are with Pile of Pills. And yeah, I'm already working on my next album. I've just finished all the vocals 2 weeks ago, and we are getting ready for drum tracking. But absolutely, fans can expect that the next album is going to be a good mix, a kind of a Stronger Than Death, but a little bit heavier. So kind of something for everybody on that new album.
When you have a different usage of your voice, doing melodic vocals versus more aggressive vocals, does it maybe express a different side of yourself or a different personality, if you will? Or being that it's still coming from your own voice in a way, it still very much expresses the same thing with just a different technique?
Yeah, I mean, I've always loved screaming. I really got into heavy, emo, screamo, metalcore back in, when I was growing up in high school, and I loved it, and I never really let go of it. I kind of wanted to always do it, but, I had some mentors that were like, let's showcase your voice a little bit more, but I think that, really the songwriting, it's whatever it demands, whatever I'm trying to convey. And that ranges from rage to almost worship. So there's everything in between, and I think that it's really nice to just be a painter and have all those colors available to you.
Does a preconceived idea go into the making of each song? Do you go into it being like, I want to do more screaming on here, or I want to do more singing on here, or is it a very improvisational songwriting process?
Yeah, I think it really depends on the idea. The way that I start songwriting, it's usually I have something I really want to talk about. So for Pile of Pills, I just had a kidney transplant when I wrote that, and I was just taking a lot of immunosuppressants, and I was not feeling better. I had kind of some regret about the surgery because it was so difficult. And the pills that I take, they help me stay alive, but at the same time, they lower my immune system. So it's really nobody really wins. So it was just really a lot of rage that I wanted to talk about. And so I remember writing specifically the intro of Pile of Pills, and I was hearing something like Death on My Doorstep a lot. And I felt like that in 2021 a lot, that whatever I did, no matter what I did, it was just like a dead end. And so I had so much rage because of just the financials, just, it felt like everything was trying to crush my will to live because of my circumstances at the time. And so with that song, yes, I definitely wanted to scream and rage about it because I just felt trapped. And there's no better way to convey that feeling of desperation, with a painful scream. But other songs, every song kind of starts out differently. Usually I have a concept or idea, and then I bring it to the studio and we flesh it out there. Sometimes the instrumental is written first. Sometimes I have little melodies that I keep in my melody library, and we just see kind of what happens as a group in the room when we're writing together.
Do you feel that maybe the concept that you could present dictates the music itself in a way? Does that determine the outcome of the overall sound in a way, or do you prefer to maybe have a composition before you know what the lyrics and the verse or chorus and so on are going to be?
Yeah, so usually when it comes to albums, I have a concept. I'm trying to write an overall theme, and every song is kind of a chapter in the book. And I do like to offer different sounds in albums. I like to cleanse the palette with, maybe a dark pop song in the middle, or just tell the story. As for the way it all happens, it kind of happens all at once. You're not really sure where it's going to go, but that, okay, I have some melodic ones. Let's write a heavy one. fine. Let's kind of just mix it up so everybody has something they like. But yeah, it just depends. Like if I'm writing and we're like, okay, we did a really soft, cool ballad yesterday, let's go opposite direction. And I'm like, oh, here's all my lyrics in my melody library that I store, let me pull something out from there. And yeah, it's just magic. It's just just a flow of creativity that we just kind of never, sometimes it starts with vocals, sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it starts with the instrumental. But I know that overall I want it to kind of go to that album arc, that album concept of the whole picture of what I'm trying to tell in the album.
Depending on what you're singing about, like coming from such a vulnerable place as what Pile of Pills is about, depending on what the song is about, does it maybe resonate with you differently, or do you maybe channel a different energy into the song depending on what the context of it is?
Yeah, for Pills specifically, I was like, dude, I'm ready to just, be heard. Like, I want this to be, I think it really just depends what's going on in my personal life. If I'm feeling like I'm trapped, in Pile of Pills, it should definitely reflect that desperation. So yeah, I don't know. It's like just whatever, the flow of it really, I think in Pills, like I think I told him I wanted heavy screaming verses, and then my co-writer Corey Bruneman, he's in Through Arteries, and he's also a great producer down in San Antonio, Texas. But we've worked together for a decade at this point, and we just mesh really well. So it's kind of like, all right, I have a piece here, you add on to it. Oh, I like what you're doing. Okay, let me add this. Oh, I'm hearing this. I got these melodies, these lyrics that I think would work really well, and we just kind of build the song throughout there. It takes like about 2 days of work time to kind of get that all together.
When you have to approach songwriting from a very personal and vulnerable spot too, is there almost like an art to confronting those emotions? Because I feel like, for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. So do you feel like when you're maybe trying to hit those emotions, they could potentially hit you back just as, if not even harder? Do you almost have to like proceed with caution in a way, depending on what you're singing about?
Yeah, especially on this new album, I talked about a lot of dark things that, I haven't, Stronger Than Death was more of like a hope album. It was like, you can make it, you will make it out. And then this new album is just about like the opposite side of the coin of the days where I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna make it. And so yeah, there was points in the studio where like I'm almost crying, and I'm like, I need to step out. Like I'm trying to cover my tears as I'm writing some of these lyrics because they just get really personal. But I think that that's required of you as an artist. If you're going to be an artist, talk about the hard things that maybe somebody else is going through. So yeah, definitely some of them are like really hard to get through. I just listened to some of my demos today and I'm like, dang, one of these songs took a week to write because I was just trying to figure out how I wanted to say what I wanted to say. And usually it takes me about 2 to 3 days to write a song, but this one took me about 5. And I was like, I don't know if it's a good song, just a lot of like self-doubt, but presenting it to the team, they're like, this is amazing. And yeah, it is scary to talk about some of this stuff, but again, why are you an artist if you're not going to talk about those things?
No, definitely. But you mentioned you worked on a song for 5 days. I love that you brought that up because, one of my favorite vocalists, Burton from Fear Factory, told me that inspiration is like lightning, and you literally have to try to capture it in a bottle every time. But if you're working on a song for 5 days, do you find it harder to like maintain that initial emotional spark or maintain that initial source of inspiration that spawned that idea in a way?
For that specific song, I had a melody that I really liked, and so I wasn't going to give up on it. It was just mostly, I have 2 producers for my next album, Kellen and Corey, and this was the first song I wrote with Corey when the rest of the album, I had started writing 5 songs with Kellen. So I was stuck because I was trying to really up my lyric game. Kellen was really, really pushing me to get better, and on this song, I remember driving to San Antonio, and I was super late because I got pulled over. And I had sent him the voice memo that morning. I was like, just get started on this, dude. Like, I'll be there in a couple hours. And, he started writing instrumental. But for me, it was like, okay, I'm really nervous. I'm hoping Kellen really likes this. This is the first song we have, me and Corey, to, show proof that we can, match these other songs. And Kellen ended up loving it. But I remember there was a lot of self-doubt because I was trying to really push myself. And it was a really hard topic that the song song that ended up being about, because when I gave him the melody, there was no concept yet. And then I was just going through a lot of things in my personal life. I was like, all right, do I talk about this? Do I really want to go there and have to talk about this in interviews and stuff? And I think that's why it was hard. It is usually like lightning. He's right in terms of inspiration, but when it comes to being like, all right, feeling really, really vulnerable and trying to create a product that matches the rest of the songs, I think that was just kind of my hangups. But once we got through that song, it was like everything got really fast again. I was like, okay, we're on the right track. Kellen likes this. We're good. He really likes this song. We'll be good. So then after that, me and Corey wrote 2 songs like in 5 days, and yeah, we were back on track.
But when you bring closure to a certain situation by being able to express, it's very cathartic to write about, personal struggles. But when you have to re-listen to it 1,000 times, re-record it, and then sing it live a bunch of times again too, does that maybe, because you obviously don't want to be in that same headspace that initially sparked the idea. You don't want to feel that emotion forever. But when you have to replicate it, you have to make it seem real. So like, how do you feel that maybe that could open another set of wounds as it heals others in a way?
Yeah, I think that what's giving me the strength to just like sing, like be okay with this song is that like, it could be for a blanket of situations. It doesn't have to just be about my specific situations, and because it's so hard to talk about, I know that other people need it. There's absolutely other people that were in the same place as I was. And as much as, I want to be like, that was the darkest moment of my life, I know that other people are experiencing that. So I have to, it's an obligation. I have to release this song because it's, I was there and I needed something like this. I kind of try to distance myself mentally from it and realize that it could be about a lot of things to a lot of people. And as for me, if I will talk about it in interviews, I guess, but I just know that if it was hard for me to write, so probably somebody needs it.
And being able to have melody express what you want to say, guitar melody and the rhythm incorporated with drums and all that, it's a different language than vocals and lyrics are. So what do you look for in a melody to know that it resonates with you to the point where you want to put your lyrics over? Does it almost have to kind of align somehow with you?
Yeah, I mean, there's songwriting guidelines, like you have different patterns of melodies that you do, A, B, B line, or, A, B, B, lines, just whatever it is, you definitely want the hook there. You want something to change. In music theory, it's called call and response. If you have one line that goes down, the next one usually is the answer and goes up, so call and response technique. And then just ears, just a lot of good, trustworthy ears that are in the room. I usually write with a total of 3 people. For me and Corey, we were 2 people because my husband could not make it to those sessions, unfortunately. But usually there's the rule of 3 where there's 3 writers. Someone can always veto, but the majority can also win. I love that process. I love that it's all in the room. I used to write full songs before going to the studio, and I stopped doing that because I realized that in real time, you always come out with multiple ears with something better. Yeah.
But I don't understand. This is something I never understood. I've been to recording studios before plenty of times, and like every studio I've been to, it's a very like controlled, isolated, very static sort of environment. You got all that high-end expensive gear there that you want to be sure not to break. You got the guy behind the mixing board just looking at you the whole time. You're in that vocal booth that is like an interrogation room, like you're on trial for murder. Like how do you manage to take the energy that you express in these songs? How do you manage to bring that energy in there with you?
I've been doing vocals for a long time, and just like it is hard because like in vocals you have to actually be able to do what you want to do technique wise, and that's actually like learning less. Like I'm a voice teacher, so that's like actually my full-time job. Like I tell people, okay, this is how you sing. But there's another aspect where good singers have character and style. And, I tell my students that one of the most important things when you're singing is you have an identity, a vocal fingerprint. All right. And it's you listen to all these other singers that have like, what is it, like super recognizable voices like Celine Dion, Michael Jackson. They all have these certain habits that they do that really give them away. Like Adele, you have that rich voice in Adele. So, developing your own vocal identity first, and then translating that character into your singing. Now, the best singers are the most versatile. So, they can do any style, any genre. They have, they know how to sing quietly well. They know how to sing with character. They can mimic other singers too. But for me, it's just like, okay, I believe in what I'm saying. It's hard for me to let other people write my lyrics because I'm like, no, I have to know and believe what I'm saying. But it's weird. It all kind of happens at once. You have 3 writers in the room. We're all on our laptop sharing a Google Doc with lyric ideas. We have the guy on the computer, just writing out the instrumental on MIDI first to make sure that, it sounds good. And then while that guy's doing that, we're listening and looping the other section and, hammering out some lyrics and melody ideas. Everybody comes together at one point, brings their ideas, and then we vote on which melody, or, what is it, like Frankenstein them sometimes, like, oh, I like half your melody, I like this one as a tag, and, and then, oh, let's go ahead and change the drum timing here. And, you just keep going back, and that's why the producer is very important, he has the final say for a reason, and they're there to veto bad ideas, and that's what you pay them for. They have a brain that's better at music than you.
They're there to build you up and tear you down at the same time.
Exactly, and the best producers they're going to tell you if your idea is bad, and they're usually right. So yeah, I pick them very carefully, and I think it's one of the best investments is the producer itself. So definitely. Picky about it.
They're the 5th Beatle, the 6th Beatle. If you're in Slipknot, the 10th or 11th Beatles. So it's just as much of a member as anybody else. But here, I wanted to talk a little bit about vocal evolution, because every artist, whether you are a singer, a guitar player, a painter, a filmmaker, we all go through evolution as an artist. But I feel like singers have a little bit of an obstacle with evolution, because every guitar player evolves. But a guitar player, if they are playing a song that they wrote back in the 90s, it's still going to be the same chord progression as when they first wrote it. They can't, that's going to very much stay there. You as a vocalist, you're going to get older, you are going to develop, your throat's going to be different, you're going to have different lyrical inspiration, you're going to grow. It almost seems like evolution as a vocalist is really just as much of a curse as it is a blessing.
Yeah, so, when it comes, this is something I work on with my students, is like consistency. You have mechanics in vocals. You have things that change. Like I tell my students, your voice is a machine. You're always fine-tuning it, and you're always trying to become more efficient. You're always learning what changes what, and, that's in the vocal tract, the soft palate, the tongue, everything, can it's kind of like a Rubik's Cube back there. You can kind of change the shape and get different sounds out of it. And so one of the first things that, I tell students is that, know where you're at. When I just recorded vocals, I had to take notes of the mechanics I was using. Did I dip my tongue here? Did I open up my throat a little bit more? Did I resonate more in the nasopharynx? Is my palate dropped? Is it, and once you know the blueprint, you can recreate it for live, and screaming, I do screaming too. There's a whole different mechanic I use for screaming. And so when I kind of think of it as car gears, right? I'm in this gear right now. That's how I'm able to get consistency for performances. As long as I remember what I did in the studio, which, like I said, I take notes. I sometimes film myself to see the shaping of my mouth, what my lips are doing to achieve that softer sound or that more aggressive sound. Then I can just pull on that in my memory library and use that. But of course, as you get better as a singer, and your technique gets better, you're capable of more colors. You're capable of doing more, and that's where the evolution happens, is all of a sudden I unlocked this in my range, I unlocked this in my muscle memory. The hard thing about vocals is that you can't see it. There's certain visuals on the outside that indicate what you're doing, but mostly you have to rely on feeling and sound. And, when I teach students, I show them, all right, this is what it sounds like this. And then this is the opposite. Which one do you want? Which color sounds better for what you're doing? And which one is going to be more sustainable for health in the future? And so, as long as you can recall and know what mechanic you're doing, it's easier to recreate and be more consistent day to day. But try new things. Absolutely.
Yeah. If you're a guitar player, you could chain smoke cigarettes all you want. More than likely won't affect your guitar playing. It'll affect other things. But if you're a chain smoker as a vocalist, you're gonna be in a world of shit.
Yeah, I mean, that's why we get that reputation of the diva, because like if you are staying up, drinking all night, and not sleeping, like rest is incredibly important for your body to breathe and expand and stay consistent. So just I had a little cover gig I did a couple weeks ago, and the day before I had like a 7-hour flight that I just got back from. I had a 3-hour gig that I had to do the next day, and I was struggling because my body was so exhausted. I ended up being fine and stuff, and nobody really noticed, but I felt different, and I felt like it was harder. So yeah, definitely the sickness, the exhaustion, over drinking, smoking, all that stuff will affect things. And the best thing, that's why you got these rock stars who are, their voices are going out on tour because they party so much and they try to do really difficult technical singing the next day, and then they start to rely on all the bad habits, and then their voice over time just degrades. So it is a delicate instrument. It's definitely, it depends on the way you feel that day too.
It's a good
yeah.
And it's also a very good excuse to not help with the loading in the gear. No, I'm just kidding. But
actually, I love doing cardio before I go on stage because it opens up my lungs more. So right. I'm fine with it.
There you go. So we talked about all the songwriting and all that. So just to end this interview, I wanted to talk about some fun stuff. You mentioned you're a metalcore fan, so I am a diehard metalcore fan as well. That was my gateway from Killswitch, Bless the Fall, As I Lay Dying, Bullet for My Valentine, All That Remains. It was like all my stuff. So what are some of your favorite metalcore bands and inspirations?
Yeah, I gotta say one of the top ones, Devil Wears Prada, like Plagues and Roots Above It. Those albums, like I just listened to Plagues again the other day and I was like, why is it so good? Why, like this album still holds up? It's incredible. But after, Under Oath was doing some metalcore on Define the Great Line. And recently, I'm trying to think of metalcore. I really like the new track that Bless the Fall just put out. I really liked that one a lot. And I'm trying to think of what else. Like Silverstein isn't really metalcore, but they did some heavier, more technical stuff back in the day. And I'm trying to think what else. A lot of it is like almost metalcore, but when it comes to like metalcore, I would say like oh gosh. Yeah, Devil Wears Prada was like my top one.
It's funny, they don't like those early materials. I interviewed Jeremy and Mike a handful of times, and they said they're not.
I don't care that they don't.
But Ben Has a Kid, I think, is one of the best metalcore songs ever written.
I literally walked in on my wedding to Big Wiggly style. When me and my husband walked in on the reception, Big Wiggly style started.
Is that filmed? Is that on YouTube?
Breakdown. Say again?
Is that on YouTube?
Oh, no, it's not. It's not on YouTube. I should have. It was back in 2018 we got married, but I was like insistent. It was like some cool track when the bridal party walked in, but when me and my husband walked in, Big Wiggly style started playing.
That's amazing, and that needs to be seen by everybody. Like relationship goals, everybody, for the metalcore fan. And you mentioned Bless the Fall, too. I love them. Witness, though, will always be my favorite album by them.
Oh, yeah, God, great album, man.
Yep, and so I do like, the stuff that they put out after that, but I think Witness is just like hard lightning in a bottle that you just cannot fucking...
Oh, man, so many great albums. Yeah, like I loved like Haste the Day back in the day, too. I think they're coming out with a new album. I heard rumors about that. And then, I don't know why I'm blanking. Like, there's a huge library in my phone, and I'm like, who do I like again?
Yo, did you ever listen to this new band called Static Dress?
I haven't. I think I've heard of their name, though.
Their album, Road Carpet Disaster, I think if you like Under Oath and like all the bands we just mentioned, you are doing yourself a disservice by not listening to that band right now.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I gotta definitely listen to that. And Spirit Box, I don't know if they're metalcore, but I love their music a lot.
They're so good.
Yeah, and would you say they're metalcore?
So I'm noticing, I'm so glad you asked that, and I'll try not to go over the time that we have, but like, I think that there is a new trend of metalcore. So take the early stages of metalcore: Shadows Fall, Killswitch Engage, All That Remains, Unearth. Then you look at later bands: Asking Alexandria, Escape the Fate. But then you look at like Bring Me the Horizon and see how they evolved. Look at Dance Gavin Dance and see how they evolved. They were opening for Upon a Burning Body back in the day.
Oh my gosh.
Like Bad Omens. I mean, I remember when they were opening for fucking Chelsea Grin. And
Yeah, they are evolving. I mean, I love it though. Like, but there's still some albums I'm like from back in the day. I'm like, dude, these still are incredible. Like, I still love these so much. And yeah, but like, I don't know. They like came up with that new name like Battiecore or something like that. I'm like,
I don't know.
I don't know if that's a thing, but
I just like how a lot of metalcore bands are like getting more and more genreless. Yeah, like Spirit Box, like Circle With Me, that is a metalcore song. Hands down, there's just no.
But
denying.
they have this like ambience to them that is just so beautiful. That
Which is
like
cool.
the best of both worlds. It's like the terror of life combined with the beauty of life. You know.
Well, early metalcore had heavy metal and hardcore combined to it. Later metalcore had like the metalcore sound combined with like alternative and emo rock, i.e. Escape the Fate. Now I think it's like metalcore with more shoegaze and ambience behind it, which I think is actually really cool. I think like I don't know what this fucking term means. Post metalcore, post rock, post black
I don't either, bro.
Yeah, like I don't know what that word post means, but they always tend to have shoegaze elements in it. So for lack of better words, like
just the rock umbrella, right? I just whatever's under rock umbrella, I really like.
Yeah, exactly. But I think what like we've seen lately from metalcore bands has been really interesting. I mean, who would have thought that Bad Omens would be headlining fucking arenas or
oh my gosh, incredible.
Like,
and they're great, but they have that like ambiance to them, you know, and like we've been, you know, kind of hearing some R&B type of beats over rock, which is like just addictive to me. I'm like, give me more of that. I love it.
Yeah, what I like about these new bands is too, I can legally gatekeep them. I can't say that I saw Killswitch Engage play for like 10 people back in the day because I was 6 when they started.
My husband loves Killswitch all the time. He's even listening all the time. He loves them. Yeah, he was into those. I was a little sheltered as a kid. I like grew up loving like Christian bands or like on Tooth and Nail. You know, I don't even know if they really were Christian, but my husband was on the secular side. He was very much into Killswitch and those huge mainstream bands. So when I married him, he kind of like opened my eyes to like all these like mainstream rock bands and stuff. So it was great.
Could get away with metalcore. You could call any metalcore Christian, just be like I mean, Norma Jean is considered a Christian band. As I Lay Dying was considered a Christian band.
That's the one I was gonna say. Norma Jean. I was like, why am I blanking? I can't think. But I love Norma Jean, and yeah, man, they I don't know if they really were like inducted to like metalcore, but they were on Warped Tour, you know. And yeah, wow, great band.
Yeah,
and they're still going.
Yeah, I just think that metalcore in itself is proving to be more than a trend than it ever was. Like, I think it is, like the way that people were like saying that emo wasn't a phase. Watch, the When We Were Young festivals are all gonna have soon like all the metalcore bands that they're.
Because it was great music, you know? It's like genuinely incredible. There was a reason it was so huge because it was awesome music and they were trying new things and it, you know, and there was a market for it. There was Warped Tour, there was all this stuff. And I just heard this morning Warped Tour's coming back, so that's freaking awesome.
Yep.
And man, I don't know why it ever went away. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, 2017 was a strange year for music, so you know, I always knew that it would be back. Like, I don't at this point, after the Slayer reunion, I don't think anything's ever gone forever.
No, and you're seeing all those bands come back, dude. They're like, okay, we're going on hiatus. No, you're not. You're coming back, and you know it.
Yeah. It's getting to the point now where, like, I almost, every time a band announces a farewell tour, I just say, I'm going to skip it out. I'll catch them next time. Like...
100%, dude. I was so sad when Flyleaf, when Lacey left, and I was like, no, I never got to see them live. And she's kind of doing performances with them again. I still haven't been able to catch a show, but I'm going to.
I just miss Lacey. She did a solo show in New York, but I just missed her again because I love her solo material too. But she has been playing with Flyleaf again. I am very. That is one bucket. That is in the top 10 bucket lists that I have yet to check off. So
I know, and she did a tour here in Texas recently, and I was on tour that week, so I couldn't go. I was so mad.
Why I'm glad I'm never touring as a musician. I never want to tour as a musician.
The exact same week she was gonna be in Texas, I was like in freaking Montana or something.
It happens. That's the price you pay. But before we go, I want to thank you so much for your time, for an awesome conversation, and most of all, just thank you for your music. Just what else could we be expecting from the Zahna camp in the near future with Pile of Pills out? If you're allowed to say at this moment, when could we be expecting more new stuff?
Yeah, I've got a couple feature songs that are coming out in the next couple months where I'm featuring on. My husband is actually one of them. He has a project called Nesdom, and he's also on Brian Headwelch's label with me on Crossover Records. And so that song, you can expect that in the next couple months. And then I've got another band that I've worked with and did co-writes with that I'm on a track with. But my album should be dropping next summer, I believe, if everything goes to plan. And that one I'm obviously preparing for as much as possible to make the biggest splash I can. So yeah, other than that, just some features in the meantime, but there's definitely stuff happening behind the scenes.
Hell yeah. Well, thank you so much, everybody. We are here with Zahna. Be sure to check out the new single, Pile of Pills. We'll see you next time on Heavy New York.
Bye.